been talking about Star Trek on my channel for the last several days, so I decided to get off that. So let's talk about the Orville. I have a few problems with the show. Generally, I like it. I've watched it. I will continue to watch it. But I find it lacking in a lot of ways. And I think under normal circumstances, the show would have been canceled before it got to the end of its first season. Uh, because of the failures of Star Trek Discovery, both real and imagined, and a lot of it's also just caused by CBS's business decisions. I think that kind of helps feed Orville's survival because it's filling a need in the general sci-fi fandom and specifically the Star Trek fandom that's not really being fulfilled otherwise. Star Trek Discovery not only is really controversial and presented in a radically different format from other Star Trek shows, it's also hidden behind a $10 a month paywall on a streaming site that absolutely no one wants. Uh, I'd kept CBS access on just long enough to watch Discovery, and then as soon as it was off, I watched them all again real quick and then stopped paying because they have nothing else on there that I want to watch. Now, that might change next year. In 2019, apparently, CBS is going to regain the streaming rights to all of the Star Trek shows. And apparently that means Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and whoever else is currently hosting the original series and the animated series and the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager and Enterprise. They're going to have to stop. And all of Star Trek is going to be moved to CBS All Access. And considering that I've been a lifelong Star Trek watcher because of television just getting me in that habit, because it always being on reruns on one station or another pretty much my whole life, that even post cutting the cord, living in a world where everything's streaming and you get to choose specifically what you watch, I find a lot that I still like to sit and watch a classic episode of Star Trek or two every now and then. It's familiar comfort food for the brain. And I'm hardly the only one, I would like to think. And so, in order to be able to get my Star Trek fix, I might have to keep CBS access on all the time. And I guess that's going to be their hook for others. But they need more. I don't know how much these 4 series that they got in production from Alex Kurtzman, or I don't know if any of those are going to be on television or if they're all going to be purely for the streaming site. At what point does CBS's streaming site become purely an only Star Trek platform? I guess there might be some crossover with people who like Big Bang Theory. I don't see a lot of crossover with the NCIS crowd and a lot of their sitcoms they have there. There's just nothing much else there for me. I was intrigued a little bit by the Jordan Peele Twilight Zone thing. I don't know if that's still really happening or not. But anyway, because of all that, Orville gets to fulfill the Star Trek need that otherwise it would have just been get out of our face, because it's too much of an imitation. The fact that Seth MacFarlane pitched it as a parody of the Next Generation era shows makes it too much of a carbon copy of the Next Generation shows. I appreciate the plots, but several episodes of the first season I had trouble getting through because with 5 minutes in, if even that long, I realized what the scenario is, and it's like, oh, I've already seen this a dozen times. Why do I want to watch this again with imitation characters? The world of Unada and all that kind of stuff. On the other hand, they have had some original concepts because there's things that have happened in the last 20 years and that Star Trek and the classic format could be making commentary on. The episode they did about social media, controlling one planet and stuff and ruining people's lives. Hey, that's perfectly in line with all the classic moral dilemma, ethic plays that a lot of the great Star Trek episodes that are remembered for their quality writing were about, stuff like that. So Orville has good things going for it. I'm not saying it's a bad show. But there's other ways that you could be filling the Star Trek niche without just being a rip-off fake Star Trek. So I'm a little act of self-aggrandizement. As an example, I'm going to talk a little bit about a concept for a TV series that I have an outline for called the Solar Astrographic Society. Instead of just being a pure imitation of Star Trek, the idea is to make a sci-fi show that doesn't do what Battlestar Galactica or The Expanse or the gritty type of sci-fi shows do. Make a hard sci-fi show that's still grounded in realistic technologies and achievable goals in terms of interstellar travel, but lean into the positive aspects of Star Trek, the love of science and exploration. And that's why it's called Solar Astrographic Society, because it's a kind of a play on the National Geographic Society. The episodes would largely be like 50-50 crew drama, because it would all be set on one ship that's on an expedition going out exploring a whole loop of star systems on the edge of the frontier before coming back. And I would still want, even if there is faster than light travel, it's still not instantaneous because space is still really big. Going twice the speed of light still means it would take 5 years to get something 10 light years away. Kind of a thing. I wanted to have it be set like 1700 years in the future. There should have been a period kind of like The Expanse in which there is like several hundred years of just us expanding with STL technology throughout the solar system, and maybe even making a few first stabs at getting to other star systems with slower than light technology until somebody finally found the trick of it. And that the process of going to other worlds and colonizing, and even with the FTL, it's still not instant. So it's taken several centuries to get there. That's why it should be set over 1,000 years from now at minimum, in my opinion. Anyway, though, half of it is like the crew drama. I don't want to have a setting with a bunch of technological aliens or stuff like that, but there are going to be alien worlds and alien environments and alien species, and maybe even intelligent aliens, just nothing with starships necessarily. But have a lot of it actually be structured like a nature documentary, and with cutscenes of like behind the scenes of what's going on with the crew of the ship and the people filming it, and even have the fictional film crew and nature documentarians be some of the cast and characters, and have a lot of science departments, and just I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential with an idea like that could fill the thing that Star Trek fans find missing. Because it's not like there's not science fiction out there, but most of it's like all sucker punch hard. Shit sucks. Everyone hates each other. It's war and war, more war, and corporate fighting and money and robbery and crime. And it's not like that doesn't have its place and isn't fun and entertaining. But there needs to be something for like a positive goal to give people as an example of what we might be actually working towards. I think one thing we have in our kind of nihilistic secular age is too many people think that life is pointless, and that, because without a super being or some sort of pre-written end game in place for everything that's going on, then why even do anything except just sit around and jack off? And the thing is we have to provide ourselves our own goals, and we're not doing a really good job of doing that, because that's part of what science fiction can do, and in its most noble incarnation does do for people, is it gives us something to look forward to and try to work towards. Star Trek not only gives us great technology, but it also gives us a great concept for how humanity can get along, and instead of hating each other for all of our differences, like and appreciate each other's differences. Wow, you're Irish, that's awesome. Hey, you're Japanese, that's cool. Let's get married. Stuff like that, instead of pretending that it doesn't exist or being resentful. That's something that'd be a healing type of message if all of mankind can embrace it. And things like Star Trek help get stuff like that out there. And so, yeah, shows that are more positive in tone, promote science, love of science, the possibilities of science, the things to help inspire people like Star Trek does to actually like want to go out and tinker around and build the very things they just saw that someone just made up because they needed an excuse to get over some sort of plot wrinkle that wasn't easily overcome because of time limitations or whatever else kind of corner they'd painted themselves in. I mean, I really would like to like the Orville. It has lots of things about it that are cool. I mean, I guess I do. I don't even know what the word is. It's lackluster. I know it has its fans, and some of you might yell at me and tell me I'm wrong for saying it's lackluster, but it's lackluster. It's boring. A second pass of trying to rewatch the first season after it's over, and I was going to binge watch them, bored out of my damn teeth and didn't finish it. That's sad. I was able to get through Discovery. Discovery might have been technically bad in a lot of ways, but it held my attention better, or at least it was something new. It was just all the wrong kinds of new. Well, anyway, I guess this is kind of a pointless rant to stop talking about Star Trek by talking about Star Trek anyway. Oh my fucking God, what am I doing with my life? I need to get off YouTube.